I'm John Grieve. I'm the founder of Stage for Life. I know most of you, I don't know all of you. I'll have a chance to chat properly with those I've not met before at the end. And this event has been organised really from the steering group meeting that we had recently, and there was a want for an event to really talk about how to get into the industry, and also to meet people who are well established within the industry, hopefully to get some tips and hints of how to forge your way into events. So, as I said, we're very lucky to have this panel here tonight. So I will start with Robyn here, just next to me. So let me just get this right. Robyn Jancovich-Brown, and you are the Participant and Industry Development Manager at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe Society.
Yeah, all the words.
Excellent. Okay, and we have Steve Robb. Steve Robb is a director at Live Systems. And Live Systems, an AV company, is that?
Rental and event production.
Yes. And Edinburgh based, so that's a local perspective from an AV company here in Edinburgh. And we have Neil Mack from BBC Scotland, and he is the Television Facilities and Equipment Manager. Is that correct, Neil?
That's me.
Great. So thank you all again for being here. I think the panelists deserve a round of applause just to welcome them here, taking the time out of a very busy schedule to be here. So within the time while you're all here, we will have a bit of a discussion ourselves, but we're wanting to make sure there's a good chunk of time for question and answers as well. So if there's anything that's not covered during our initial discussion, then please just take a note and ask questions. Don't be shy. That's why we're here. And Callum here is recording this because there's lots of folk who couldn't actually be here tonight, but they'll still be able to access what's being talked about. So first of all, I would just like to ask each of you, we'll start with yourself, Robyn, what was your journey into events, and why events? What's drawn you to this industry?
Okay. So my journey was a little bit windy and mazy. I actually started out as an actress and then went into youth work, running drama events and workshops for children between the ages of 5 and 8, I think it was. And then I had a weird career blip where I went to work for the Scottish Government for 4 years. I don't really know why, it just kind of happened. Within that time, I was actually working in the Cabinet Secretariat office, which was the office that arranged all the cabinet meetings and big subcommittee meetings, talked about all the really important stuff. So I kind of started in that very kind of formal events side of things, meetings and conferences and that kind of stuff, and just basically decided that I really missed the arts and I wanted to get back into it. So took myself back to university, did an event management degree at Queen Margaret University. While I was there, managed to get myself a seasonal job with the Fringe Society actually. In there, they run a performer resource centre during August called Fringe Central, where they put on loads of free events for all the artists who are taking part in the festival. And I was working within that kind of events team and making sure that all the events went in all right, that all the artists had a really good time, that they were able to use the centre and kind of get the most out of their festival experience. And then basically became a freelancer from that and started producing theatre shows for children and young people. It sounds a little bit cheesy, but my first Fringe experience just made me realise that I was like, yeah, this is the kind of stuff I want to be doing. I want to be working in festivals, I want to be working in the arts, I want to be making stuff happen, cool, exciting, fun stuff happen. And so just worked my way through lots of volunteer jobs, free jobs, freelancing jobs, until I eventually came back to the Fringe Society in my current role, basically.
Cool. Is there an event that really stands out for you that you thought, wow, this is amazing, I want to work in this? Or?
Yeah, the Fringe. That
Fringe.
that first one. I was I'd kind of fallen out of love a little bit with the arts before that, and I was convinced I'd never wanted to work at the Fringe because it was, you know, so big and it just took over the city, and I was like, oh my god, And then once I was actually in it, I was just like, oh yeah, now I remember why this is awesome and this is great. Yeah, and it really got my kind of creative flair going again, and it made me really want to kind of jump back into kind of arts and events and all that kind of stuff.
Great, thank you. Steve, similar question?
Yeah, and in a similar way, it was a little bit strange, and certainly it's not what the initial planning was. I mean, I started out, I went to Strathclyde University, had a degree in electronic engineering, thinking I was going to go down some sort of route in that respect. Coming out of university, there wasn't really that sort of work available, ended up going into IT for a time. Started off doing training work in IT, then eventually going into more sort of systems network consultancy, and off down a whole IT career, which was quite good. And I would recommend it. It is better money than the events industry, by far. But there was at the same time, I had a hobby, and that was I got interested in amateur theatre at an early age, and I always did that as a hobby all the way through, and I'm still involved in some of that from time to time. So I decided at one point in my career that it would be an interesting experiment to set up a part-time business on the side of IT, doing some basic technical work, get some bits of equipment together and start a little part-time company, see where it went. 16 years later, here we are. It's still going.
So Life Systems was that?
It was, yes.
Yeah, gotcha. Great.
Here we are.
Great. Is there an event that really stands out in your mind that?
I mean, I think one for me in particular, which was a real, sort of one that sort of pushed me, was when we did a large chunk of the production for the Tall Ships Festival up in Shetland. That was one, we just bought ourselves an outdoor stage system, so that was its first outing up there. But we were also then supplying all the production on the stage, so everything, all the sound, all the lighting, and we also supplied all the site power for everything up there. And we had to organise getting all the stuff in. We sent up 2 40-foot trucks, plus all the crew, etc., and organised all that. So there's a lot of, it's not just the technical side, it was all the logistics, all the planning, and then seeing it all come together. It was satisfying, very much so.
Great, great. And Neil, yourself?
Well, that's it. I'll sip this water first.
Certainly, certainly.
Well, I started, I'm 41, I started in the industry when I was 17, and by chance, almost by mistake, so I wanted to be a systems analyst, and I was taking some time before going to university, and going to take a variety of work that came along to earn some money, and I fell into working with a production company based in Glasgow. So I started as a runner, and I was very lucky that I got to assist camera, sound, editing, outside broadcast, and I made good tea, and I carried boxes, and I went and got the lunch in. From there I went on to work in drama, and I was a location assistant and eventually a location manager on a Taggart. Drama Taggart. So really, my lot, really I've come from a production and drama background. For 10 years, I was on the drama River City as a unit manager. That turned me into a bit of a hybrid of a location manager, a studio manager, and kind of I would also manage any sort of permanent set constructions. So let's say the whole backlot, the street that you record in for River City is a permanent set. It's built to building standards, but I would work with the construction teams, the design team, to make sure that anything that we did that was a permanent set would comply. So also within that time I became a bit of a hybrid in that I went into a degree in safety management. So, but the safety that interests me is making accidents happen safely. So how do you hit someone with a
Please
car?
explain more.
Yeah. So how do you hit someone with a car? How do you throw someone off a cliff? How do you blow things up? Well, we can do all these things with enough resources, the right people, enough time. So that's the safety that interests me. So I would work with producers and the writers maybe earlier on who maybe come and say, hey, we've got a storyline that we want of Riverside wants to throw Archie off a cliff. How can we do it? Who should we involve? What will it cost? How long will it take? So that was one line of things. But these days, for the last 4 years, I've been an operations manager at BBC Scotland, and my role is about the readiness of all of the studios, including Riverside Drama Studios, the outside broadcast, all the transport, the equipment, and about 30 of the people who operate all of that. So a real hybrid. So I began as a kind of organiser, if you like. So basically I'm an organiser that knows about film and television, but I'm also a safety guy. And in amongst all that time I produced 2 films as well, short films. So for a while, when I was freelance, I've been freelance maybe half of the time in staff, half of the time at BBC, which I've been very fortunate for. And within that time I started up my own film production company and produced 2 films. I didn't make it to Hollywood, so here I am. Ideally, I would be a writer. I would direct what I write and I'd own the company that makes it, but there's very few people who are lucky to pull it all off. I gave it a shot. So I pay my mortgage by being an organiser and organising, everyday business and TV. So that's what I've gone here.
Thanks very much. I mean, there's instantly a bit of a common theme here about none of you seem to set out with a specific goal of this is exactly what I want to do. There's been a bit of a journey there, which I think is definitely a common theme in everyone who works in events. And you each have different experiences and skill sets and whatnot. And I'm interested to discuss a bit about, well, initially, what do you think makes a strong applicant to work with you or for you? Or, I'm sure each of you have some experience of recruitment or management of staff. So does anyone have a thought on that? Things that really jump out about job applications?
I'm literally just finished shortlisting for a job, so it's kind of fresh in my mind right now. The thing that really stands out to me is inquisitiveness. So if someone can show me that they've gone away and done their research, they've picked up on bits of the job description where not that much information might have been given, but something's been dropped into it and you've actively gone onto the website to find out what that thing is, and you can then reference that somehow in your personal specification. It just shows me that you're willing to learn, you're willing to do your research, and that you're interested in learning as well. The other thing that really stands out to me in job applications is, or in fact maybe I'm going to flip that. The thing that really turns me off about job applications is when people tell me how I'm going to benefit from them. I want to know how you're going to benefit my team, what you're going to bring that will make my life easier, that will make my team greater. And it sounds a little bit harsh, but I know that you'll get a lot out of this job because there's a lot on offer and it's a big festival, and from a CV perspective, having the Edinburgh Festival Fringe Society on your CV will do something for you. So yeah, I don't need to know that you're going to get a lot out of it because I know you'll get a lot out of it. What I need to know is what you're going to bring to my team.
Yeah, I mean, so some of that is certainly true. I think from some of the things I've seen, I certainly want to see enthusiasm in people applying for a job. but I also want to see an understanding of what a job's really about. In this industry, I mean, obviously a lot of our sort of job roles are technical, and so we get a lot of people applying who are into their tech, proper techies as such, and they'll go on and hammer on about all the different pieces of equipment they've used, etc. And I'm like, well, that's all well and good, but when it comes to an actual working situation, there's a lot of other things. There's long hours to deal with, there's hard work, there's a lot of, even in the best games, there's a lot of boring tasks and mundane stuff to be done, but it's what pays the bills at the end of the day. And if somebody has the right appreciation, the fact that you come into work, there are going to be some really nice times which are really satisfying, you get to, play with some great equipment, etc. But there's going to be a lot of the time it is just hard work. But if you come in with that attitude to say, yeah, I appreciate this is making a living and I need to contribute to the company as part of that, then that's a great thing for an employer to see.
All of the above. And as simplistic as it might sound, most of us can actually learn to do most things. Right, there's a few things that we all can't do or we won't have the aptitude for or the like, but most of us can learn to do most things. I think you've got to appear friendly in an interview. Think about your body language. Think about the sort of vibe you're giving off. You've got to be enthusiastic and try and balance the enthusiasm with not being, how can I say, too self-assured. Being positive, as you say. I think being polite and being friendly and having a smile on your face, and if you get the job, even if it's just for one day, turn up when you're supposed to turn up. Don't turn up drunk. Don't turn up smelling like you were drunk the night before. Just be reliable, be friendly, be polite, put a smile on your face, and you'll probably get the opportunity to learn those things. And that will lead you to the next experience and the next opportunity and the next job. Often what I'm just looking for is someone that I can turn around and say, hey, will you help me with this? And they go, I'm already doing it. They're anticipating some of our needs. I'd also say, look at the job description, and you won't always have the experience of that particular, the functions of that job, but you might have experience that you can give examples that relates somehow to it. So at BBC, you might come in and face a panel of 3 people, and we'll ask every candidate the exact same question, and there's a scoring system. And what might set you apart is that you've considered the job description, as you guys say. You've researched some, some examples, but you've thought about your own life, and if you can't relate directly to that example, you've come up with something else. Here's what I did that is similar. Here's an example of some skills or an approach that I took, which is similar to what you're asking for, if it's not identical.
You mentioned things like body language, and another thing that pops in my head was when I'm interviewing somebody, I'm also thinking, and it's not a question that's actually asked, but I'm always thinking, will this person fit in with the existing team? Will they fit in with my customers? How are they coming across? What type of person are they? Is the way they speak, the way they handle themselves? There is unfortunately a bit of the way they look will come into play as well. So, you've kind of got to think, make yourself employable.
There's also something, if you don't get offered a job after an interview, the way that you accept that news, I think is really important, because there's so many fantastic people out there that we interview, and we can't give jobs to everyone, but what has happened in the past and what I'm constantly looking for is, alright, that person might not be a great fit for this role that I'm interviewing them for, but actually there's another role coming up in 2 months' time which they would be fantastic for, and I will potentially bear you in mind for that job if you come across in the right way, and if you can be gracious in the news that actually you haven't got this job, but okay, there could be other potential opportunities. Just staying in touch, and it's about being friendly and I guess it's relationship building. I mean, just making sure that you stay in touch with people that you meet, whether that be through job interviews or whatever, because that's your network, if you want to put a kind of formal label on it. And you just never know what might come out of it in the future. It could be, a couple of months, it could be a couple of years down the line. You just don't know.
Yeah.
Generally, the importance of asking for feedback, do you think that is something which, as you say, kind of can leave a seed in an employer's mind about, even though they're not suitable for this role, they're asking about how I did in an interview or with an application?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Although it's sometimes difficult to give a sort of a sometimes a tactful answer to that, but it can also just be, it's not one particular factor. It can be a bit very vague. It's just the fact that they didn't really sort of tick several boxes in your head in some respects. So it's not always easy from an employer perspective to give good feedback.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's obvious, but other times not.
Yeah.
We're using quite a formal system of interviewing, you see, so every candidate gets asked the same question and then scored against the same question. So actually, if you ask for feedback at BBC, we will give you it, and we'll have to explain exactly where we think you are stronger or weaker than maybe the candidate that did get the role, Now, sometimes that can actually just come down to a very narrow margin, and the person who did get the role, if you didn't, just had a little bit more experience or even examples to give in that area. But if you think about the other things that make you employable, if you come in with an identical CV to someone else and you're as friendly as the next person, and both of you give fantastic interviews, I'm going to take the person with the driving licence if you don't have one.
Yeah.
So have a think about that. Have a think about, do you have a driving licence? If you don't, then I would think about starting there, because much of what we'll ask you to do will involve getting to places, going to get us things, and as you might begin to work freelance, you're going to find it difficult to get to a lot of venues around the country if you're relying on public transport at the hours that you'll probably need to start, early in the morning, finishing late at night. If two fantastic candidates come in, we have a casual pool as well. We also have staff, but we've also have a big casual pool of freelance people that we use. If someone comes forward and they don't have a driving licence, I'm probably going to take the person with the driving licence first, because I probably think that they've got a better chance of turning up in the morning because they're not relying on public transport. So it's not a barrier to get employment, but I think it's one of the things that everyone will look at.
I agree with that. It's pretty much for most of our internal staff, it's a prerequisite because we need to be able to drive the vans.
I was going to pick up on that, key skills. Are there any, you've touched on driving licence, are there any other key skills throughout the different disciplines of jobs and events?
For the Fringe, certainly, and for the jobs that we recruit for, having another language is so useful, because obviously it's a big international festival and lots of people from different places in the world come. Even if it's just basic, it's basic conversational, another language, just something that can get you by. BSL as well, it doesn't have to be a foreign language, something that just makes you stand out a little bit. And good experience with like Microsoft packages as well. Excel, databases, that's always comes in dead handy.
Yeah. One thing, going from a completely different perspective, and it's a bit of a bugbear for me, but I've got a bit of a problem with the number of university courses churning out various technical degrees in theatre and event production, everything like that. Sorry, I know you did production. I think that it's a bit more of a problem with the education system, I think, because it's kind of a mass production, because they get money for running the courses and putting bums in the seat and putting people through them. I think while there are certainly some good courses, certainly the Conservatoire through in Glasgow, RSAMD, I still want to call it that, they seem to produce some good people, they seem to come out with good real world knowledge, but quite often, you know, I've found people coming off courses don't really have the sort of good working knowledge in some cases, especially on the technical side. So I'd actually say that for me personally, it's actually probably a waste of time, whereas if you come in with the right attitude and maybe some actual experience on the ground, whether that's, you know, unpaid work and stuff like that, they can show that. That's much more what I'd be looking for.
Any chance of just a bit more specific, Steve? What kind of knowledge and experience?
Well, to be honest, and I've done this on interviews, I've given somebody a cable and a plug and some tools and I said, wire that plug. And you'd be amazed at how many people can't wire the plug properly. You're applying for a technical job. You have to wire a plug well. Soldering. Can you solder? So there are practical things you should know how to do. Being able to, you know, anyone can, you know, plug a microphone into a mix and into a speaker, but suddenly understanding what's going on, so if you're in a troubleshooting situation, you can kind of work that through, it can be very beneficial. And again, that's the sort of thing you can ask questions on in an interview and find out what people actually know. But it's real world stuff, not sometimes sort of, I'm trying to think of the right term here, abstract feeling.
Yeah.
If you want to be in performance, if you want to be an actor, like, I'll just go straight to drama as opposed to, you know, the other areas of performance which you know much more about. If you want to be an actor, probably you're going to have to go and formally train. Probably. Few people get through that system by being themselves and, you know, appearing for a show and such like, and then becoming an actor. Probably you go for formal training. Probably you then get an agent, and then hopefully you get auditions, and you go that way. In sort of camera, sound arenas, when we're recruiting for those roles, the majority of applicants do come with some sort of formal academic study. Now, some may come from television and film production courses with a technical element. Some may have come from either a sound engineering course or a photography course or a film course, depending on the areas that the individuals would be actually trying to specialise in. But that doesn't mean that not going through those formal routes won't get you opportunity if you can demonstrate the other things that you've done. Well, I've been going out with a camera or my kit, or I've been practicing what your passion is. You can demonstrate your passion over a period of time. Here's the groups I've been involved in, this is what I've been doing, let me show you a clip of my work. You know, if you can demonstrate that you're not just going along for that job because you think it'd be a nice job to have, that actually for a few years you've been committed to that passion, then you don't always need a formal qualification for that. We work with the RSMD, the Conservatoire, and one of the things that, so every year down in Dumbarton they come and they use the River City site to do some training in the studio and in the street. And one of the great things about the Conservatoire's courses, if you were thinking about courses, is that the musicians, the performers, the actors, the construction team, the prop team, the tech team, the stage managers, they all work together on a variety of projects, and that's one of the benefits of their courses, that they don't work in isolation from the other sort of disciplines, if you like. But I would still say, if you get the chance tomorrow to get into the industry without a formal qualification, go for it. You'll probably learn just as much by working for the next 2 years as you will for 3 or 4 years on one of these courses, by getting the exposure to the people that you're working with. I was fortunate, that's what happened to me. I started when I was 17, produced my first film when I was 21. So you just have to get out there and do it if you're not going to go the formal route. So, but having said that, you know, we will get 200, 400 applicants for a camera trainee role, and sometimes you will start to go, okay, how are they demonstrating the passion for this? And often it is the formal course to begin with. It might be one of the first sifts. So it just depends who the organisation is that's looking at your experience.
Great.
Doing both. Getting the formal qualification and doing the voluntary stuff is always going to put you further ahead. Practical stuff.
And just before we open up for question and answers, okay, Gary, no worries. I was just wondering about sort of on-site, having an employee there. Are there key words that come out that really help with on-site, on a job? Key characteristics, attributes. So we've been talking about the kind of job application process. I'm wondering now about actually on the ground.
I think you mentioned it earlier, proactive. Basically trying to think ahead. What you don't want to see is somebody who's kind of sort of waiting to be told what the next thing to do is. Any good employee will be looking for the next thing to do. They'll be sort of seeing things, and if not, asking the questions. And also not being afraid to actually say, I actually don't know what I'm doing with this particular thing you've asked me to do. Just being honest, because nobody knows everything.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Being a real team player as well. So there are times where you will have to pull overtime. You will have to stay later than maybe you're rotated onto or whatever. If you are willing to actually just muck in with the rest of the team and get whatever you have to do done, so that not one person has to stay by themselves until 3 AM getting stuff done, then that's a big thing as well. And yeah, that friendliness thing and just being inquisitive again. Like you said, not everyone knows everything, and actually I would far prefer with my team members that they do tell me that they don't know what they're doing, rather than ploughing ahead with something and it being wrong and having to start all over again. So yeah, never be afraid to ask, I guess.
Yeah, I think all of the above, I don't have anything to add to that. Actually, that sums it up.
I think, Neil, you did touch on something which is hugely, it can be overlooked, is turning up on time.
Yeah, reliability. If you get the reputation, particularly if you're freelance, self-employed, if you get the reputation that you're the person that's always 10 minutes late, that will stick. Some of these reputations just stick with you for a long time, and it might take you a long time to turn your reputation around again, even if you're not always 10 minutes late. You're just 10 minutes late for a week, if you like. So, but you turning up on time, and actually, let's say your shift, let's say you start at 9 in the morning. Turning up on time actually means turning up at 9:15. Having had your breakfast, being ready, not on your phone, talking to your colleagues, planning the day. I think what we see these days, because everyone has devices, is a lot of folks on their phone all the time. On set, you shouldn't have your phone on anyway, although everybody does have one in silent these days, don't they? It doesn't quite interfere with mics the way it used to, but so you'll see folks who've been in the industry for a long time, maybe sitting behind desks, maybe using the phone and such like. When you're brand new, don't you do that? After you've been in the industry for 10 years and everybody, thinks that you're credible. Maybe not 10 years, maybe a few years, and everybody knows that you're credible. You've got people that you work with. But until then, don't be playing on your devices when you're standing on set. That's not.
It's a very good point. We see that so many of the people. At the end of the day, you've got to remember you're being paid to be there, not to be using your social media. At the end of the day.
Great, thank you all for that. I'm really keen for folks to have a chance to ask some questions. I knew this would happen.
Anything safely hit someone with a car?
Great question.
Okay, so first thing we would do is hire a stunt coordinator from from the stunt, who's recognised on the stunt register, as it were, you know, so there is a register of people who are stunt performers, and after they've got certain experience in multi-discipline of stunts, who become stunt coordinators. So you hire a stunt coordinator, who then helps you hire the right stunt performer that looks like the cast member that you're trying to double. And then, basically what happens is, let's say it was rollover at bonnet. So we did this in River City, and I will tell you what went wrong. So any stunt is always high risk, and the reason for that is regardless of the effort that you put into controlling it, coordinating it, rehearsing it, it can always go wrong in performance. So to hit someone with a car, you drive the car at them at a constant, steady speed. So that when you hit them, they can roll over in the direction planned. They're wearing body armour underneath the costume, as it were. And it's almost as simple as that. It's almost as simple as that. You then speed up the action in the edit to make it look, you know, faster than you hit them. So maybe you hit them at 15 to 20 miles an hour, but actually you play it back looking at sort of 30, 40. Well, no, unless it's a wipeout, of course, when you've hit someone at 70, but I haven't done that. So my role in that is actually bringing in the right expertise to hit someone with a car, you know. And a stunt performer, once upon a time a stunt performer had 5 gold medal disciplines. So one might have been a sword fencer, a champion horse rider. But these days you'll pick the stunt performer that is the stunt driver or is the best at falling off of buildings. And that's their experiences. They build up these different experiences, and they're just very fit, athletic people who are used to we practice falling downstairs and that type of thing.
Okay.
Might be the best thing I've ever heard.
So I said I'll tell you how it went wrong. So the stunt driver drives at the stunt performer, and just before he hits them, he speeds up a little, which means the trajectory that the performer was supposed to take off the car changes, and he comes off the side of the car instead and lands on the back of his neck rather than, you know, as planned. So it went wrong. It wasn't as planned. Well, luckily the stunt performer, we took him to A&E as a precaution because you have paramedics standing by. And he was okay, and he was on Coronation Street the next day. So that's.
Somebody was going to ask something at the back, Helen.
Yeah, your comment about doing the event management degree and then going and doing a load of voluntary work, and then your comment about whether degrees are worth it or not. I've got a degree in a completely unrelated discipline, and I'm considering going back and retraining. But I don't know, like, do you think that's worth it? Do you think
To be honest, I can't remember anything that I did in my degree. I'm being totally honest. Something flashed up on my Facebook feed the other day where I was asking some sort of theoretical question, like 6 years ago, and I was like, I have no idea what I was talking about back then, really. I think it can be good in terms of if you do the right course at the right university, it can give you access to the right people and the right networks.
So it's more like a giant, expensive networking process.
It can be, yeah. But it can also, I don't want to rule out my degree. I did get some really useful practical information from it. Like the whole of our second year was designed around putting on practical events. And then there was some really interesting theoretical stuff, which is just, you know, it just implants in your brain and makes you more aware of the world and the way that the world works as well in that industry. But certainly, from a recruiter's point of view, I am always going to be looking for experience over a degree. Mm-hmm. There's so many people that apply who just have a degree and no experience, and they don't stand a chance, unfortunately.
Okay, that's really interesting.
I think just to add to that, I think you know, in the past, you know, go back 20, 30 years, you know, a degree was a way in to, you know, almost guarantee you a job in a particular field. But obviously the way the education has watered down, so basically, you know, the university system is now pretty much open to everybody, but it's now a much more costly thing to do for people as well. So you do have to get at the fact, I mean, you've got a degree already. What have you got?
Archaeology.
Excellent, rocks.
So yeah, well,
Well.
yeah. So like in terms of events and stuff, I found that's quite useful because people kind of look at it and go, archaeology. Oh, well, you can do long hours outdoors.
Transferable skills.
Which which is great, but at the same time, someone points a lighting desk at me, and I'm like.
But I would say, you know, if you're going to do another one, it's going to use up a lot of time, it's going to use up a lot of money, and perhaps the better thing to do is try to, you know, get a small job directly in the industry. Because generally, like, as employment works, once you're in a job, new opportunities will then present themselves, some of which will take you in a completely different direction. And I always say, you know, always have a look at something that presents itself, even if you've never even considered it. It might take you out of this industry into something completely different, but that might be a good thing.
I guess, you know, if you've already got a degree, then you already have skills that you can demonstrate that are relatable to if it's organising that interests you, and you already have X amount of years of life experience. So draw upon all of that. You know, when you go to your next interview for something. Maybe to spend another 3-4 years in another degree, maybe time better spent just trying to get straight into the industry, you know.
That's really helpful.
Also worth watching out for industry events, not directly aimed at you perhaps, but things like trade shows.
Like plaza type stuff.
Yes, exactly, because you can go and have a chat with people who are in the business. You might, by chatting to them, find that there might be some opportunities with a particular company. But at the very least, you'll get your name and face known, and you might learn some names and faces, and that starts to build up to who you know. Because the events industry is a fairly small industry. Well, I mean, there's the events industry, there's the broadcast industry, they kind of, some of them overlap a little bit, but sometimes they're a little bit separated. But it is very much it's who you know.
Totally want to second that. The thing that I did that most benefited me throughout university was I just started going to the theatre all the time and just hanging out in the bar afterwards and getting to know people. And that was how I got my first freelance jobs after I finished university. So, yeah.
On the broadcast side of things, if you don't already know, there's a directory online, and it also appears in a book called Film Buying. If you don't know Film Buying, go to filmbuying.com, and basically that is what I would call the yellow pages for the Scottish film and television industry. And in that book you'll have the majority of facility companies and people who you can get in touch with to say, hey, I exist, you know, what's happening, you know. And if you just time, it'll be a question of timing. If you just time your CV at the right time when someone's looking for something, then your journey will start. 20 years ago, email didn't really exist. I lettered everyone in the film buying, and I can trace where I am now to an opportunity there through that book. So it's much easier now because it's online and you can email everyone. So go to filmbuying.com, and there's a whole host of folks to get in touch with.
Great, yeah, that's really useful. Any other questions?
One thing that you two mentioned was the conservatoire, and I'm at the Brandon campus of Edinburgh College, and one of my tutors never shuts up about the conservatoire. So I'm starting to see a running theme here. But after knowing people who have known people who went, it seems to be two very different takes on the spectrum. So the people that went absolutely hated it and said it was the biggest waste of time they've ever done. But everyone else seems to think it's an absolutely wonderful idea, and that it's like the best thing you could probably do as someone involved in the events industry trying to make them like their way through. So what else could you probably say about that? Like, would it be worthwhile looking into?
I mean, my own comments for that were purely based on some of the candidates I've seen coming from Conservatoire versus other places, and again, it's just quality of the sort of people coming out, and this is reinforced by other people I know in the business who've said the same thing. Again, you know, it could just be that, you know, those people were genuinely great anyway, and if they'd gone to different college, they'd still come out well, because they were, you know, they were a good learner, they applied themselves well. So, difficult to quantify, but certainly they have a bit of a reputation, certainly from people in my circle, of producing a better, ready for industry candidate at the end of the day.
I guess it's, you know, for any of the courses UK-wide, it's if you're going to go and begin one, then just consider hard the course content and how relevant that is to the industry. So what happens is that some of the courses are too vague to be relevant to actually what the industry employers need, or don't actually give you enough detail or don't give you much practical opportunity to demonstrate your knowledge. So therefore, someone who has just been demonstrating practically for a few years, whether they've been to college or not, could be ahead of you in an interview just because they've got some hands-on experience. So some of the best courses, what I'm trying to say therefore, are aligned to what the industry needs and also offer a practical element rather than a purely theoretical element or elements.
Although it'll be difficult for you to judge a course on what the industry needs because you're not in the industry.
It seems to be that regardless of what course it is, even what subject it is, you always get a few people who come out of it saying it's the best thing they've ever done, and a few people who come out of it saying it was a waste of their life. So I wouldn't take it to heart.
Yeah, that's very true.
I'm going to put a shameless plug out for Stage for Life there, because that was definitely our goal, is to try and have a combination of real life experiences and a bit of the knowledge and skills, which include a bit of theoretical stuff. So if you haven't heard of Stage for Life, then you can check us out on Facebook. So I would just like to kind of conclude our discussion. I hope you found it interesting. I certainly have. It seems as though the important points is actually research and genuine interest before even making an application. And with that, bring in your inquisitiveness and your genuine interest. It seems as though enthusiasm and an understanding of what involved really shines through. Friendliness is definitely a big plus, and doing a lot of research balanced with not coming across as overly maybe arrogant. Certainly when you're on site, anticipating needs is a big one. And even if you aren't successful in a job application, it seems as though getting feedback is a really useful tool. So I would like to thank again all of the panelists. This is the last chance if anyone has any burning questions they'd like to ask before we finish this section. Okay, a round of applause please for... Thank you so much.